StudyIQ IAS, अब तैयारी हुई affordable.
Okay guys, good evening to all of you. I hope you people are doing good. Audio video clear hai guys? Is the audio video clear enough? Maybe many of you join late or maybe many of you are watching in a recorded mode, I believe. ठीक है, दो चीज़ें पहले मैं clarify कर लेता हूँ. This batch is pure English, right? This is a pure English batch, not a English one. So that I'll keep in mind that we only talk, discuss in English. Okay, perfect, fine. It's a pure English batch. Secondly, I hope you people are aware that today we are going to start with the polity wala aspect, Indian polity. Are you aware on that front? I'm pretty much sure that you would have gone through the schedule as well. Yeah, don't worry, it's pure English. We'll use pure English. Okay, perfect. This is a long-term batch, as I have been informed. I've been, asked to do the basic of the politics. As far as your Indian Constitution is concerned, with respect to the aspect which deals with your Indian Constitution and the government and the governance structure. In order to further progress with this particular aspect, there is one quote which did appeal to me when I read it. And as a result of which I have shared it in front of you. I'm pretty much sure that you people would have read this in the past 3 minutes since which we began our classes. I'll read the quote, listen to it very carefully. And by the end of the class, I'll prove the quote which I've written here. Learn to use the knowledge of the past, that is the history, and you will look like genius. Although you are just doing nothing but borrowing it from the past. You are just a clever borrower. But however, if you are in a position or if you largely have the abilities to use the knowledge of the past. Now the point here is what exactly this past indicates. In the context of civil services, this past could largely be an indication of your previous experiences, your attempts. In the context of a UPSC aspirant's life, this past aspect could also deal with your previous understanding, that is your graduations, your masters, or maybe any other aspect, any previous classes which you have attended, any previous books which you would have studied. If you are in a position to use that knowledge of your past, as per Robert Greene, he opines that you would actually look like a genius. Most of the time, the students, good evening to all of you guys, and let's start the session with a bang. My goal here, I'll repeat again, is to do the basics as far as the Indian polity is concerned. As far as the basics are concerned, I believe in doing things in a complete manner, not just chopping around the grasses, not just touching around the face values, rather than let's go into the depth, because there is no clear-cut distinctions between depth and the base. If your base, in order to reach to the base, you would always have to go deeper. I hope you people will agree to this. Base doesn't mean that okay, you just come on and you just discuss the various, you touch the topics and go. No, that's not the base. Today we'll start with the basic aspect. The goal of today's class is to make you understand importance of certain aspect. But before starting the class, I'm pretty much sure Shraddha has given sent a message that we are ready to dive in depth or in deep. Let me see how ready you people are. Let's look into this. There's a book called as 21 Lessons from 21st Century. Yuval Noah Harari. And this is the book I pretty much say to all my students, whether I'm teaching in Indian society parts or advanced batch or governance batch or polity or for that matter my optional sociology, that this is the book which every UPSC aspirant should read it. And since you people are in that long-term batch, since majority of the people here will be either appearing in 2025 or 2026 or beyond that, you people are in the right position to read this book. Because if you go through this book, there's a lot of content which will open up those rusted spaces in your mind or in your brains. In this particular book, There's one aspect which is discussed here. Harari says this, that humans loves to understand things in story. Do you agree to this? Okay, we as a human, whether it is the UPSC aspirant, whether any human on this world, on this earth, they learn to things in a very, pretty much in a story format. See, maybe that is the reason that we easily recall the movies which we would have seen maybe decades down the line. But we are not in a position to recall that particular article which you have studied in the Lakshmikant, maybe just 3 hours down the line. Maybe this particular person is right that humans loves to understand in stories. In today's session, in the next 2.5 hours, let me make it one thing very clear, there would be no break in between. And I assure you, damn it, that you will not require one. Break is normally required when your concentration level starts deteriorating. And that will not take place as far as these classes are concerned for next 15 to 20 days. Let's first look into this. But in order for me to make you understand things in such a simplified story, and yes, and that book further, it reads like this. Simpler the story, better it is. Humans loves to understand things in story. And more the simple the story is, more easily it can catch attentions of the people, more easily it can be remembered by the people. I hope many of you would fall in the same line or a paragraph where I am standing today, that this is true, sir, this is something which we have experienced in our previous lives or in our various aspects of day-to-day realities. But before starting the story of polity here, two things. I want you to interact with me, not just through the chat. Usually what I do is, when I take a particular topic up, I'm so sorry for this. When I take a particular topic up, I unmute a particular fellow here. Then we interact on the basis of which the classes progresses. Are you people confident enough to raise your hand and start interacting so that we can complete this not just in a format of a story, but also can simplify the story which we have here? Are you ready with this? Can anybody raise your hand? It's okay if you want to converse in Hindi as well, it's okay with me, but I'll prefer that if you speak in English, because since it's a pure English batch, I will also able to understand you in English and answer you in English. Any person who can raise their hand, there are certain things which I want to ask first, because if I know my audience, I will know the depth at which I need to stop. I need to take this class to, and the depth at which I should be, avoiding those turbulent waters. Okay, there are two people who have raised their hands. Let's look into this. Prem Shankar Kumar.
Yes, sir, you are clearly audible.
Okay, perfect. There are certain things, certain questions which I'll put up to you. The point is not that you should be answering it in right manner or wrong manner. The point is not that you should give me a bookish answer. The point is only just answer what you feel about it. Got it?
Okay, sure.
Let's imagine a scenario where there is a teacher, there are certain students, let's call them as UPSC aspirants. Okay? Relax on your chair, sit back down, and just listen to the lecture, and you will get your entire notions of polity cleared in goddamn 2.5 hours here. That's my promise to you. Let's assume these are the UPSC aspirants. Right, Shankar?
Yes, sir.
The first question which appeared in your mind when you started preparing for civil services, what was it? Be very frank.
What are the reasons so that I will choose for UPSC? These are some basic questions that will come into my
What are the
mind.
sources? How should I proceed with it? What should be my optional? From where should I start? What are the sources which I need to refer? Is there any coaching classes which I need to take? So on and so forth, right?
Yes, yes.
Can I just summarize the entire doubt which is present in the minds of UPSC aspirant? That the question, the core of the question is this: where should we actually start from? Right?
Yes, sir. I agree.
Okay. what is the most often answer which is actually given with respect to this question when a UPSC aspirant puts up to the respective teachers or to their parents or to their peer groups or to their respective fellows? Okay, where exactly should I start? What is the normal answer which is given by the teachers and toppers both?
The most of the answers are go through the syllabus first, and the mostly answer are go through the syllabus first, right? And assess your knowledge whether you are required any specific.
No. Wait a second. Assessing your knowledge can only be done when you first gain the knowledge.
Sir, I'm saying that to see like if someone have a basic knowledge or maybe some advanced level in some subject, then he or she may or may not be required coaching classes, and that's why I'm talking in that.
No, I am talking in the context of content. Whether you go for coaching or not, that doesn't determine your success. What determines your success is what you study. Padhna kya hai? This is what the question is, right?
Yep.
Most of the time, what is the answer which is given by the toppers or maybe by the respective aspirants? Can I say most of the time they tell you what is the importance of start? The start is the most difficult part of your preparation because once there's a lot of confusion, right, Prem?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I mean, believe me, when you start your preparation, since you people are in that particular aspect, Indrajit has given an answer, NCERTs. So why start is so important? Because it is the most difficult part of your preparations. Once you start, you get into a rhythm and then you are in a position to largely, win over that particular content. Second, start determines your interest. If your start is not logical, if your start is not right, let me explain you what is right and wrong. Let's assume that January 2024, tick. Suppose if Prem is appearing in Prelims 2024, let's take a hypothetical situation. Fine?
Yes.
And if Prem starts studying GS mains, is there any possibility of Prem clearing or cracking 2024 Prelims?
Probability is not.
Probability almost does not exist as far as on the basis of logics are concerned. Why? Because during the time of your prelims you were studying mains, right?
Yes, sir.
That means start determines your interest. If you take a wrong start, many people often change their optional because they took a wrong start, right? Many people leave their preparations because they were largely not having those right mentors in order to guide them how to chart the path. What to study, what not to study. Many times you studied the wrong book and you realize it after 3 months that you were going through a wrong content and that was something which hampered your preparations, right?
Yes, sir.
Start is very important because this determines your interest. Your interest determines your concentration. Your concentration determines your understanding of that particular aspect which you're studying, and this understanding is something which would help you to understand the syllabus, the content, the process and the UPSC itself in a better manner. Can I say that?
Yes, sir.
So normally if the start is so important, have you heard people saying this, that in UPSC you should start with NCERT?
Yes, most of the answers.
Most of the toppers, most of the teachers normally say or ask you or advise you to start with something called as National Council of Education and Research and Training, right?
Yes, sir.
NCERTs. But put your hand on your heart and tell me this, Prem. How many aspirants actually follow this?
Sir,
Did you follow it?
yes, I have followed 2 subjects, polity and history. I
Okay.
have followed this because I am from engineering background, so I have no any.
So you are largely you need to have the basic understanding of those humanities which you had no touch in your graduations.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay,
That
let's
is
see.
basically main reason behind that.
Perfectly fine. Let's see, Prem, that whenever a teacher asks you or a topper says you to study NCERT, is there somewhere down the line a question mark present in your mind which says, "Arey yaar, NCERT is a school-going student's book. How can I use this for UPSC, which is one of the most difficult nut to crack?" Guys, be very frank here. Have you ever cross-questioned or questioned that, no, this is something which is not going to work. This is just a bloody school book. How can a school book help me to crack the most toughest examination of India, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this question definitely once came into my mind, but I have answered this with some different logic.
No, no, no,
Because
no, no. Wait a second here. I'm not here to take your answers. I just want to first open up the things. Be very clear
yes,
on this front, Prem.
yeah, yes, sir. Yes, yes,
Got
yes.
it? But has this question ever, have you ever faced such a scenario कि नहीं यार यहाँ पे कुछ गलत है? I mean, this is something which is not right. People are giving us wrong advice because the exam is tough. The books are of school-going students. How can these books help me to crack the examination? Many
Yes,
of
sir.
the
Yes.
students, believe me, really go through this question every day in and day out. Now I'll explain you what is the full form of NCERT. Believe me, this full form, I'll prove it by the end of today's lecture. Forget about next 20 days. I'll prove it by the end of next 2.5 hours. This is the full form of NCERT. Can you please read it, Prem? N refers to?
Necessary content, enrichment required to top. Okay.
Did you understand this?
Yes.
NCERT is not National Council for Education and Research and Training. It is the necessary content enrichment which is required to top. Top here means we are talking about UPSC examination. This is literally the full form of NCERT with respect to civil services examinations. I'm not giving an official full form of NCERT, but this is how it looks if you only take this content seriously. Now tell me one thing, Prem. The question still remains unanswered. Why? Maybe a teacher is trying to say NCERT is important. But have you seen something called as tattoo?
Tattoo, no, sir.
Tattoos, yeah, the tattoos which people have on their
sorry.
bodies.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes. Tattoo.
The
yes.
belief system, I also said in one of my podcasts as well, tattoos are like belief system. It's imprinted on your body and it doesn't change. Many times students develop such a belief system, whatever importance you prove them, they will not accept it. No, still I want to read Spectrum. I want to read Lakshmikant first rather than going to Indian Constitution and work and maybe political theories. It's not about you. You here means aspirant. Most of the aspirants still do not take it seriously because they want to go to the matured content written by scholars in order to largely get the feel of the examination. Right, Prem? Now, this is where the fatter the book, more relevant it looks.
Yes, we follow the brand value.
Not brand value, you follow the page value. Zyada moti kitab, that's more relevant, that is more difficult, and that is going to be the right one to crack, make me crack the civil services. Yes. Let's understand in today's class, is it seriously important to study NCERT? Let's figure it out. If you look into Indian polity, which I'll be taking here, 6 to 12 standard, there are 11th and 12th in the next slide. These are the NCERTs which are present. Guys, give me one moment. Okay, Inderjeet is saying that, yes, I can link myself. I can link myself too because even I have gone through this process as well. From 6 to 12 standard, if you see, 6th standard NCERT book is Social and Political Life 1, 2, 3. It ends here. From 9th standard, you see Democratic Politics 1, Democratic Politics 2, it ends here. From 11th and 12th, you see two different books. There are two books here, Indian Constitution at Work and Political Theory. And there are two more books here in the 12th standard. One talks about India after post-independence India after 1947. Other talks about the world affairs or world politics. Have you seen these NCERTs, at least the covers of it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That means these are the books which is a given fact. I don't have to debate on this because these are the books which are available. You people can verify this. Have you ever found out that we are doing the topic of polity, right, Prem?
Yes, sir.
Why are we studying caste, diversity, secularism, pluralism, gender, etc., etc., etc.? Because in 6th, 7th and 8th standard, this is what you're going to study.
Yes, yes.
From 9th standard, you get into a different mode.
Yes.
In today's next 1.5 hours to 2 hours, let's first figure out what exactly is present in NCERT, how you should study NCERTs, and how the dots gets connected when you take the bird's eye view. Everything looks connected when you are done with all the, maybe 7 to 8 NCERTs which are present. The point here is, you study the content in silos. You study this, you forget this when you study this. You forget this when you come here, and you forget this when you come here, and by the time you come here, this is the only thing which you remember, and you feel this is what Indian polity is all about. You never connect the things with each other. If you have started doing this, believe me, you have caught the UPSC by its neck. And if you have still not figured out how to connect things, if you are still largely reading books as it comes without ever understanding the index of the book, without ever understanding the purpose why that book was written, then believe me guys, this cycle is going to become a 5 years plan. After giving 2007, 8, 9 and 12, 4 interviews, 3 consecutively, 1 after a drop, only one thing which I figured out in my life is this. In UPSC, if you just start connecting the content, you are done with your content. And the day you only try to enrich your content, you are always of scarcity. You will never complete the syllabus. Today, the way we are going to discuss the Indian polity NCERTs here would be completely a different exercise, take you to a different world. Shall we start, Prem and others?
Yes, sir. Yep, I will.
Pakka. Shall we start, guys? Are you ready with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Prem. Now I want somebody else to raise the hand so that at least I can interact with yet another person here. Anybody else who can raise your hand? Thank you, Prem. Thank you so much. Anybody else who wants to interact here? I request you to raise your hand, please. Because at the end, you have not come here to take a sermon, and neither I am here to give you a sermon, because you only learn well when you discuss it well. Nobody wants to raise your hand? There's a lot of fear present among the students, maybe, that people are hesitating. Shraddha. I'm trying again, Shraddha, but I think there are certain technical glitches from your side.
Yes, sir.
Now, Shraddha, just tell me one thing. What is the meaning of power? Shraddha? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Shraddha, I think there is a lag. Can you just tell me what is the meaning of power?
Sir, for me, power means a special authority.
Power means?
A special authority that is given to you.
Okay. It's a special authority which is given to you. Okay. Suppose, let's take a scenario. Guys, listen to it very carefully. Just relax, no notes making, nothing. Just listen to it and fit the content in your goddamn mind, not brains. Shraddha, I'll give you an example. Listen to it very carefully. The parents, that is maybe let's take a mom or a dad, do they have power over their child? Shraddha, is there?
Somewhere, yes.
Somewhere, yes. Be fast, Shraddha, be really very fast. Okay. Somewhere, yes. Let's assume. But those same parents, do they have power over the child of their neighbor?
No, sir.
Here you were so precisely sure about it. No, you don't have any power over them, right?
Yes, sir.
But in the context of a child, one's own child, you are pretty much sure that yes, they do have that power. Now let's assume, power, when you define it, how it looks like. I'll give you the definition of power. I'll repeat it 2 times. Listen to it. You don't have to write it. Power refers to producing the intended results. Ability to produce intended results. I'll repeat the definition. Power refers to producing the intended results. Shraddha, did you get it?
Yes, sir.
That means, let's assume, Shraddha, what's your age? Hello?
20 years.
20 years. Let's assume when Shraddha appears in 21st, in the first attempt itself, she gives UPSC interview. ठीक है, Shraddha?
Okay, sir.
Let's assume by the age of 28, Shraddha still appears for interview. Continuously she keeps on appearing for interview. Let's just take a hypothetical scenario. Don't equate it to number of attempts. When Shraddha appears in the interview for the first time at the tender age of 21st, would she have more power?
Yes.
Would your influence in your family be very, very strong? My daughter at the age of 21, she appeared for UPSC interview. Would your dad or mom say that? But let's assume at the age of 28, you keep on repeatedly giving interviews. Would your power reduce by this time despite doing the same thing continuously?
It will get reduced definitely.
It would certainly get reduced. That means your power to produce intended result comes down. You had more power here in comparison to the power which you may have here at this particular circumstances. Right? Can I say that? Shraddha, I think there is a lot of lag as far as your context is concerned, or maybe you're muting and unmuting. मैं किसी और से पूछ रहा हूँ. Bhumi, please be fast, guys, because I want to discuss the broader aspects of polity today. We'll start from the scratch. Power. Bhumi. Okay, let's forget it. People are not interested, or maybe there are certain technical glitches. I'll proceed with the lecture without interaction now. If you look into the power, power refers to producing intended result. That means if I am able to produce any result with respect to others, I have power over them. This definition was given by Russell, Bertrand Russell, but you don't have to remember the name here. Remember this. But this definition may not look more complete. There is yet another famous definition of power defined by the father of bureaucracy called as Max Weber. And Weber defines power something like this. Power refers to ability to pursue others, to take an action despite their resistance. I'll repeat. Power refers to ability to pursue others, to take an action despite their resistance. For example, many times in our family we often see parents force their decision on their child. You need to have this particular sabji here. Please have it. You need to go to the bed immediately. Power refers to ability of the parents to produce, ability of the parents to influence others to take an action despite their resistance. They don't want to take an action, but they still do it because their parents have a power over them. This is the most acceptable definition of power as far as the sociological and political aspect or disciplines are concerned. So, till now what we have only learned is what is the meaning of power. Ability to produce others, result, whether people like it or not, you would have to do it. It doesn't matter. Just like teacher largely forces upon their student to write the answers, whether you like it or not, you would have to write it. Everybody with me till here, what is the meaning of power is the only thing which I have started with. I hope pretty much simple, pretty much easy and pretty much easy to digest as well. Fine. Let's go further. Does power exist only in political sphere? What's your answer on this? Does power only exist in the political sphere of the society, or does it exist in social and other spheres as well? From the definition of power and the example which I gave of mom and a child, or a dad or a child, you're pretty much sure power exists in friendship, power exists in families, power exists in relationships, power exists in politics, state, government, etc. and beyond government in the international organizations as well. Power exists in civil society. Almost every sphere there is a power struggle which is present. That means you should be precisely clear with one aspect, that struggle of power is universally present throughout the society. Now, do you understand? I mean, still the dots are not connected. But do you understand one thing? Why in Indian polity part we are having and studying of caste, diversity and gender? Because power is going to be impacted by every aspect. But let's not go that far right now. The second thing which I am making it clear to you is this. Power is present beyond politics. The second point of today's class. These 2 points you should just write in your book. Meaning of power. Second point, point wise you just make a note of it. Second point is power exists in every sphere. The business class has their own power. Sometimes the power is with the student, sometimes it is with the teachers, sometimes it is with the organization, sometimes it is with something else. Every sphere, wherever there are more than one person, there is always a struggle of power which is present. Within family or outside family, that's not a point of debate. Power exists in all the sphere, that is pretty much clear. Now the point comes is, what are the dimensions of power? We have looked into one thing, that this particular thing refers to ability to influence, right? In short, I can write this. This is nothing but this. Your capacity to influence others. That's your power. Now the point is this. This ability to influence others could be in the form of force, could be in the forms of voluntary acceptance. Do we agree to this? One can influence people either by force, dande ki taakat se, stick approach. If you don't do this, you would be punished. If you don't follow the traffic signal, you would be fined. Forced. It is forced upon you and me. But beside this, there is another mechanism, another way in which power can exist. That is in a voluntary manner, where the people accept your power. You don't have to force upon them. You would have to just tell them and they will do it. Now this is called as authority. Now, in the third point, is it clear? Power in its root, power indicates. Now, the diagram should look something like this. In any society, there exists domination. This domination can be voluntary. This domination can be involuntary. The voluntary domination refers to authority. Acceptance. Yes, we accept it. For example, you accept the power of domination of district collector because you know that he's sitting on that position and that position goddamn carries the power. We accept the authority of prime minister, chief minister, clerks or judges or the constitution because we believe those people sitting in those positions carries the right to influence our decision. Just like we accept the domination of our parents because we believe they have the right to influence my decision. Can I say this? But there is another form of domination called as involuntary, which is nothing but when you force a particular individual, a country, an organization, a group of people or fellows to accept their authority. मानना पड़ेगा. You would have to accept, or else will kill you, or else will beat you, or else will terminate you from our society, or else will take out your citizenship. This involuntary nature is often equated with something called as power. So domination exists. Those domination can be voluntary and involuntary. Is every student with me till here when I say what are the dimensions of power? There are broadly two dimensions of power. Acceptability of it exists, the voluntary nature, and involuntary nature where it is forced upon. With me, everybody? Any doubt till here, please tell me right now so that at least I can deal with that. Any doubt, guys? All clear? Perfect. Let's go further. Fine, we understood the meaning of power. We understood that it exists beyond politics. We also understood that, yeah, it can be in different forms. It could be in voluntary, it could be in involuntary form. Now, the point which comes is, normally we connect this authority. Why I am using this narrow understanding here? Because we are going to do the polity aspect of it. State is having authority. State does not have power. State cannot force you. It can only do those things which are permitted by laws. It has authority. Social institutions, when you take an example of religion, take an example of family, take an example of at least state in democracy has an authority. If there is an autocratic state like that of North Korea, power hoga uske paas. They'll only have power. They can do anything which they want. But as far as India is concerned, we have a democratic state, and therefore there is only existing authority. State cannot take my rights, basic rights, and if it tries to take my basic right, I can approach the court and I can win a case against the state. But if you look into the various social institutions which are present, let's talk about caste association. Let's think about gender associations. Let's think about family. Let's think about religious organizations. Let's think about ethnic and cultural aspects of society. They have both authority and power. They have right to influence you, which you accept. Okay, my religion says this, I should be not doing this. But at the same time, there are many aspects of our own religion, our own culture, whichever culture or ethnicity we belong to, which can be forced upon us. No, you cannot marry outside your caste. No, you cannot go for interreligious marriage. Religion is not having authority there. They are having power there. That if you do it, we'll take such and such action here. So social institutions, we often see coexistence of both authority and power. That means voluntary and involuntary. But as far as the state is concerned, democracy is concerned, authority is the only thing which they have. The force does not exist forcefully. Fine. Sir, we got the meaning of power. We got the dimensions of power. We got that power exists beyond politics. In every sphere, the struggle of power is universal. But what are the bases of power? Power can be broadly divided into political power and power in all other spheres. This is the power, this is the aspect which you normally study here. The first biggest mistake which a student makes. What? When you study polity, you only focus on those aspects which talks about judiciary, federalism, executive, legislature, parliament, state, etc., etc. You forget that the power of the state to a very great extent is also influenced by the social factors which we have in our society. And that is the mistake which people often make not in their prelims but in their mains, when they are not able to connect Indian society paper 1 with paper 2 of GS mains, polity and constitution. That's the game which needs to be changed. Power exists in every sphere. Just now you accepted it. You should not narrowly understand Indian polity as only with respect to those political aspects of power. Because Indian polity exists in India. And India is one which is made up of different social aspects. These aspects, if they are not taken into consideration, you would definitely not understand the power in its true meaning, in its true essence. For example, can you understand Indian politics without understanding caste? What do you think? Is there a possibility that ever in your life you will understand the politics in India if you don't understand the caste equations, whichever state you may belong to? Literally not possible. Because many times the politics is often played on the basis of caste cards, caste identities and vote bank politics. Often and often we hear this, we see this, and many times there is a possibility we may practice this. Now the point which comes is how to capture this political power. How can one capture the state power, state authorities, or maybe power at the political hemisphere of the country? Anybody, can you tell me how to win elections if I want to simplify this? Any idea, guys? What is the way to capture power in India? By winning trust of the people. Oh, come on, Shraddha, that looks much more ethical. That looks much more bookish. By influencing people, that's quite obvious. Very good, Niranjan, in fact. How do you influence people? By appealing to their issues. But if you see, poverty has never influenced our Indian elections since the time of 1947 as much as caste and religion have influenced our politics. Do we agree to this? The most burning issue is the poverty in any society, whichever society may exist. But still, to our contradiction, we often see that's not the election aspect. We provide freebies. We largely talk about different types of physical, not austerities, but physical, fiscal luxuries. Poverty has never actually become a decisive factor with respect to Indian elections. What is the point to capture? How do you capture a power? When you understand the social aspect of a society. Can I say that? If you know the social aspect of your society which is important, which is influential, and if you understand those equations, you can capture the power. For example, in America, if you can play the race card well, there is a possibility you can capture the power well. In India, it is often said that caste is passport to politics in India. If you understand the caste well, you can capture the power well. Language, ethnicity, culture, religion, reservations, gender, etc. Yes, development also plays a role. Yes, the political manifestos also does influence the election. Freebies also influence the elections. But often, social factors key understanding is important in order to capture the power. All of you, do you agree to this? Social factors should be understood, only then you will be able to capture the power. If you don't have if you don't know the nerves of the society, you will never be able to capture the power. For sure, at the best you can give me a utopian answers. No sir, it is not important, but reality stands something very different to what we discuss. Right? Let's move further. Social factors influences who would gain political power. Be that caste, social factors, what it could be? It could be caste, it could be gender, it could be religion, it could be a particular cultural practice, it could be etc. Inequality, equality, discriminations, deprivations. Social factors should be understood in order to gain the political power. If social factors are so important, now do you understand the importance of 6th standard and 7th standard NCERT in your goddamn preparation? That the goal of 6th standard and 7th standard NCERT is to make you understand those social factors. Is the first linkage clearly understood by you? what is the purpose of you to study 6th and 7th standard NCERT? To understand the first principle of power, social aspect. When we discuss in lecture, first we'll start with diversity and discuss all other manifestations of those social fabrics which are present and how those aspects in society has influenced the political power of India since independence or before independence. Every student with me till here, where I have proven on the basis of facts, logics and concept that the 6th and 7th standard NCERT is the base to understand this Indian constitution and its work. Clear to all of you? We would start from here. So the study of Indian constitution starts from Indian society. I'll repeat again. The study of Indian constitution starts from Indian society. Once you understand Indian society, you understand the political power. When you understand the political power, you understand the constitution well. Let's move further. Let's see this. After understanding various social factors which influences power, we need to build a mechanism to run or rule the nation. For example, let's take an example here. Suppose there are prospective bride and bridegroom. They meet each other in order to discuss their prospect of whether they are compatible with each other to marry each other. Let's keep this picture in our mind. They meet at a coffee table. They largely interact with each other in order to understand, are we compatible with each other? Should we marry each other? Let's assume after 10 to 15 meetings, they have decided that they are compatible with each other. They have the similar ideologies, similar perspectives and similar patterns of thoughts and progress. So they are compatible enough. But just finding that they are compatible is equal to marriage? No. They would have to technically get officially married, right? Just understanding society can make you understand the power. But once you understand those magical aspects of power, you need to frame a system so that that power can be practiced. It should not be exploited. It should largely be used for the well-being of the sections of the society. It's because if this pattern is not present, there is a possibility tomorrow an autocrat would come like that of Hitler and completely play havoc with the power which is present in the society. Maybe tomorrow there is a charismatic leader which arises out of the soil and can take the society to a next level progress or deterioration. A system is important. Now this was the question which was largely present with respect to our constitutional framers. Okay, look guys, in the Constituent Assembly debate, let's create a hypothetical scenario. Okay, we have understood this is how the power operates because we have won the freedom, we know how it operates. But after understanding now, let's develop a mechanism so that we can practice power rather than just understand power. What are the various mechanisms available? Now in Constituent Assembly, let's assume B.R. Ambedkar sir is discussing this and he is asking all the fellow Constituent Assembly members, okay guys, tell me what are the various mechanisms through which we can now create a structure which can manage power, which can help us in practicing that power. Different member assembly raises their hand in order to tell, okay, this is the way. Broadly, if you see, there are two ways in which you can practice or manage the power, build a structure. One, the structure which is determined on the basis of legal laws, which are nothing but secular laws. Or maybe there is a possibility that somebody may stand and say, no, there is no need to largely frame a legal law. We already have a nice cultural law present in our land, and one should be governed by those cultural aspect of it. Cultural norms or cultural laws. Take an example of this. In many of the Arab countries or many of the Islamic world countries, Sharia law is practiced. Have you heard about it? It is the Sharia or Islamic law which is used in order to run the country with respect to their education, with respect to their power, with respect to who can stand, who can fight election. For example, till the recent time, even in Saudi Arabia, women did not have the right to drive a car because of the Sharia law. Later on, now they have the right. I think this took place in past 2.5 to 3 years. Cultural law. Forget about Saudi Arabia, that's very far to go. Let's go back to 50 years or 60 years down the line, where we often see in 18th, maybe let's go to 18th century or 19th century, we will see what? That it was the cultural laws which largely regulated the behavior of you and mine. Example, sati, child marriage, no widow remarriage, etc. etc. Cultural law के basis पे you can rule, और secular or legal laws के basis पे you can rule. Cultural law is good for that society which society is homogeneous. Similar faith, similar ethnicity, similar language people exist, and therefore it is possible to rule them on the basis of cultural norms. But let's assume if we see country like that of India, and let's assume today in 21st century 2023, if I start applying Sharia law or Hindu law or Jain law or Christian law to all the people of the country, would all the people accept it? No. Some may not follow Christianity, yet another may not follow Islam, yet another may not follow Hindu, or yet another may not follow Jainism. They will not accept it. Therefore, the Constituent Assembly members were clear, this is not the way out. We will not use this. There was yet another reason why we did not go with this. It was not just the diversity which was present, people belonging to different culture. There was yet another factor which largely created a fear of this, orthodoxy. Many of the cultural beliefs were very orthodox. And if we follow those beliefs, there is a possibility we may violate certain human rights as well. For example, take an example of sati or child marriage. Child marriage hampers the tender age of both boys and girls. Similarly, sati forced a woman in order to sacrifice her life. We were clear, no, we are not going to run the country on the basis of this principle. So what we chose? Legal law. So after understanding the social factor, we wanted to frame a mechanism. This mechanism was framed by developing a legal law. We chose legal law. Why? I have given you reason, because there are certain deficiencies present in this particular aspect. Everybody with me again till here? Why we did not choose cultural norms? Because of diversity and because of orthodoxy, which many times colored these particular norms. Once we chose legal law, now the second question which the Constituent Assembly member faced was, guys, there are a lot of ways in which the legal laws can be framed. Fine, we have accepted. Legal law should govern the country. But what type of law are we talking about? Is it the constitutional law? Is it the statutory law, executive law, conventions, or the judicial interpretations? If you go to the legal background, if you go to law as a discipline, these are different forms of laws which are present, which all are more or less secular in nature. Which to choose out of them? What is a constitutional law? Constitutional law refers to the laws which are driven, whose inspiration lies in a document called as constitution. What that means? A country which has a constitution largely acts as a guiding principle for all the legal aspects of the society. For this, you would have to first frame a constitution. Some people rose their hand and said, no sir, why we should go for constitution? Let's go for a statutory law. What is a statutory law? Statutory law is the law which is framed by the parliament. Just like British councils existed, imperial councils, viceroys, executive councils, British time pe. There is a possibility we already have the houses. Let the houses frame the law. Any law framed by both of these houses would become statutory law. Now remember one point here. Any statutory law, right now let's take Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. These are the organization, parliament jise bolte hain. They are the one. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha frames a particular law. Recently, criminal, Bharatiya Nyaya Samvidha, the new act which has come, which replaces CRPC, IPC and others, Evidence Act, is framed by what? Parliament. Any law which is framed by Parliament, if any change has to be made in that particular law, you have to get an approval from Parliament. Government cannot directly modify that. So let's go for a statutory law. We already have a parliament established by those British colonies. Why let's frame a constitution and waste our time? Let's go with this. We are taking a debate here. Yet another people said, no, not even statutory law. Let's go with an executive law. What is an executive law? Executive law is any law framed by the government in power. And since government frames this law, it can be changed by government any day. For right now, take an example of gazette notifications. Many of the laws are framed by government. Every law is not framed by parliament. Government also has subordinate power to frame the laws which can be changed at the will of government. So tomorrow if the government changes, they can change the law. But if you want to change this, first get it approved by the parliament, only then you can change it. Example, RTI Act is one such example. National Food Security Act is one such example. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act is one such example. Right to education is one such example. Many laws are framed by parliament. You can only change by getting an approval. Let's go with an executive law. It's much more easier to change it. Some were of the opinion, let's assume, let's run the government on the basis of convention. Let's follow the convention. Why create any specific law? The conventions which we have been following since British time, let's follow those conventions. For example, in the present time, deputy speaker is chosen from the member of opposition as a convention. It's nowhere written in the constitution. There is no statutory law for that. There is no executive notification for that. It is just a convention that he will be chosen from opposition. Conventions can change any time. Violation of convention does not lead to violation of law. Some people opined judicial interpretation can also be a basis. For example, many times, let's assume there are certain aspects on which there is no law at all. We don't know what will happen. We don't know. No law exists. In such circumstances, when the case goes to judiciary, in our country, Supreme Court is the highest court. When it reaches there, and if the Supreme Court gives a judgment, it becomes a law. If there is no law with respect to that. For example, right to privacy became a fundamental right. Why? Because Puttaswamy case in Supreme Court largely talked about it. Okay, this is now a right. So judiciary decides the rights. This was the debate. How did we reach to this debate? Let's recap this. The framers of our Constituent Assembly felt that there has to be some way to govern the power. The power can be governed either through secular manner or cultural manner. We chose the secular one. But now the question arose, what type of secular law are we trying to build? Finally, what was the opinion? All these laws are secondary in nature. Let's create a document which would guide all the people in the country with respect to the power mechanisms. why did Constituent Assembly spend roughly around 3.5 years in order to largely frame a constitution? Because suppose if we go with these categories of laws, in that circumstances, if the person is right, the laws would be right. But suppose if the wrong person someday occupies by manipulating those social conditions, he may play havoc with the laws, change the laws as per his choice or her choice. If this law is there, it would be pretty much difficult to modify this. Any personality who comes and captures the power would have to operate with the realm of, within the authority of constitution. Out of all these, constitution became the supreme basic document which led to the framework within which the power would operate. Everybody with me till here. How did we come till the word constitution? Just with the motive of creating a structure which can regulate the power. Guys, is the voice audible? Everybody clear till here? Why we developed a constitution? To create that framework. Framework of what? Power management or power regulation, etc. Once we now suppose B.R. Ambedkar sir is standing and finally he concludes, okay, after a vibrant discussion within the Constituent Assembly, we have finally chosen that India would largely create and frame its own constitution. So let's start the work, guys. Come on, very good. Somebody raises their hand. So there's one doubt I have. Okay, please tell me what is the doubt. Sir, should we have a written constitution or should we have just a non-written or a verbal constitution? Oh, we never discussed this. Okay, fine guys, before framing the constitution, I just want a vote of all of yours. Should we go with a written constitution or should we go with an unwritten one? There are certain advantages of a written constitution. Those advantages I'll deal in depth when I come to federalism. But as of now, a written constitution is more superior, or superior in the sense it is more rigid when compared to non-written constitution, Britain, where it is more flexible. And if it is rigid, people would not able to manipulate as per they please. This debate of whether having written or unwritten constitution was a very short debate, closed very fast with respect to 9 volumes of Constituent Assembly. Okay, fine, we have decided we need to have a constitution which should be written. Why we want written constitution? Because it will have much more rigidities. People would not easily able to manipulate it. Here the Supreme Court would be considered as the final interpreter of the constitution outside the parliament. Everybody with me till here? Why the constitutional framers chose our constitution to be rigid, written? Because they wanted it to be more rigid. Again, everybody with me till here? Once you chose written constitution, the question now which was possessed, or maybe which was something bothering our leaders during that time was, now the question which our leaders faced was, what factors and aspects we need to include in the constitution? Imagine, the journey of Constituent Assembly was just like your UPSC journey. How? This is the point where you identify, okay, I need to cover history, geography, X, Y, Z, Z. Now the question which comes is, from where should I cover? Which book should I refer for history? Which book I should refer for polity? The same was the question with the framers. They came till here after a long debate. Secular or cultural, secular won. After secular won, constitution should be, the law should be of what nature? Constitution. After constitution, written or unwritten? Written. Once you came to this point, now your goal was, what all think we should include in constitution? This is where your class 6-7 NCERT के बाद में आता है class 8 NCERT. Class 6 and 7 gave you an understanding about society. So the Constituent Assembly scholars read the NCERT of class 6 and 7, got the idea of society, how power operates. By keeping this in mind, they now had a goal of framing a constitution. These were the factors considered, social factors. The goal, how did they frame the constitution, is discussed in your NCERT book of class 8. Is everybody with me till here? 6 and 7 gives you the social factors. 8 largely talks about the broad outline of the constitution. What exactly constitution consisted of? How it was approached? What were the things which were inculcated in it? This is what you read in class 8. Obviously, some of the gender and other dimensions are also mentioned because social and political life it is the name of the book. But overall nature here is the broad framework. What should be the constitutes of the constitution? Once you are done with the class 8 NCERT, where you understand the basic outline of constitution, not the details of it, now the thing which remains is, you know the society, basic aspect of constitution you have inculcated in the class 8th book. Now the people which they now face is, what they should know is 9th standard NCERT, which talks about democracy. Once when the constitution was ready, basic outline, okay, this is something which we need to have here. Secularism, vote, equality of vote, equality, right to vote, equality, fundamental rights. Okay, these are things which we need to bring here. Now let's sit on the table and discuss what are the details of it. But before the details started, B.R. Ambedkar sir asked all the members, can anybody define what is democracy, guys? And everybody was like, sir, everybody knows it. I mean, there's no point to discuss this. No, but yet, go ahead, please define it. So democracy refers to by the people, for the people, of the people, government. Okay, perfectly fine, but that is something which is not the meaning of democracy. That was something which was said by Abraham Lincoln. I want the meaning, I want the essence. Sir, how do I express it? That's right. Before knowing what details will fill in the constitution, let's take a class of what exactly is the democracy, which you learn in your class 9. What happens till here? You learn the social factors, you learn the basic aspects of constitution till 8. In 9th, you start going to a higher level understanding. Understanding the democracy, its ethos, its practices, and how it operates. So in 9th standard, what we are going to discuss is the democracy. Now when the discussion on democracy started, people now had two things in mind. Sir, what type of democracy we should have? Should we go with direct democracy, where people would decide every law of the land? For example, if a new bill has to be passed, it has to be vetted by the people's vote. Like Switzerland is a direct democracy. Every bill, every law has to be vetted by the people. Or should we have indirect democracy, where people would vote, elect the representative, and the representative will take an action with respect to the governance? The debate on this was pretty much simple. Okay, look guys, let's not go to Switzerland right now, we cannot afford that. Let's come back to Indian soil. Switzerland is a very small country, not even equivalent to the smallest state of India. Their direct democracy is possible, but if we largely go for direct democracy, there would be more chaos which we will create. It will hamper the process of development. It will hamper the process of integration because people would not come to a common opinion. And going to people's court every time would delay the decisions as well, delaying the development as well. So let's go for indirect democracy. We chose indirect democracy. This is the part which you discuss in your class 9th. When you started choosing democracy, direct or indirect, you were clear, we'll go with indirect democracy. Now the question which comes is, okay, sir, as far as the structure of constitution which we discussed in class 8th NCERT, if the democracy has to be indirect, how would we manage such a wide population? Should we give complete power to center, unitary government? Or should we also give important power to federal? Should the power given to the state should be absolute, that they can come out of the country, union? Or should the power given to federal should be enough for their autonomy but should not be enough for their separation? This debate started. And finally what we came out with was the combination of both unitary and federal. There is a lot of debate here. Is it unitary in spirit or federal in form, federal in spirit or unitary in form? This is something which you will again discuss in 9th standard NCERT. So what exactly we are doing in 9th standard NCERT? The thing which we are doing in 9th standard NCERT is this. यहाँ पे unitary and federal दोनों लेके आए आप. What we are doing here in the NCERT is 9th standard. Division of power we'll study. We'll study regular elections कैसे हो रहे हैं. What are the ways in which election takes place. Therefore, 6th and 7th gave you understanding of society. 8th gave you basic structure which constitution should reflect. 9th gives you the essence, what that constitution should look like of a democratic country, where the distribution of power is taken care of, where the nature of democracy indirect which is present is also defined. Every student with me till here. Guys, everybody with me? Okay. Now the question which comes is, fine. So we know what's the meaning of power. We know in India we had a constitution. Within this constitution, we largely gave a space for federal and indirect democracy. But somebody else stands in the Constituent Assembly. Sir, one question. Please tell me. So we have chosen the democracy, indirect one. But is democracy only about voting? B.R. Ambedkar sir says, I did not get it. Please elaborate it. So my viewpoint is this, that people vote once in 5 years. Is it sufficient to make a society democracy? Well, no, that's not how democracy exists. A true democracy is one where people regularly participate in elections. So the other person asks, sir, how do you ensure regular participation? Voting chalo, you have discussed in 9th standard NCERT. Okay, this is how it has to be. How do you ensure regular participation? B.R. Ambedkar now says, regular participation of people can be ensured when they start contributing their expertise to the policy framing. And sir, how do they contribute with this? By participating in civil society, by going for protest, by largely, displaying their grievances, by going for social movements as we did in British time. Well, right, sir. That's a true democracy. Just voting is not a thing which creates a society or makes a society is democratic. People's participations, people's viewpoint should be given equal respect. But sir, we have not discussed this in class 9th NCERT. Don't worry, you have one more class to go, 10th standard. We'll discuss it there. What you do in 10th standard NCERT, how to ensure regular participation, I've written here, protest and movements. And where do you study this aspect? In your class 10th NCERT. Now see this picture clearly. Understand society so that you understand the power, 6th and 7th. Understand the basic framework of constitution which was visioned by our forefathers. After understanding the basic vision, keep in mind the essence of this instrument. Democracy, it should be a democratic one. While you fill the detail, ensure you always respect to this. When you understand this, this is not something just vote. It is beyond voting, which talks about federalism and protest as well. By the end of 10th standard, you would have now got a clear idea which book should be read for history, which book should be read for geography, which book should be read for polity, or which book should be read for X or Z. In a similar fashion, by the time you complete your 10th NCERT, you understand the essence of Indian Constitution. What are those basic features which our constitutional values displays? That is constitutionalism. Everybody with me till here. What exactly unfolds in 4 years of NCERTs? Perfect. But now let's come back to the first diagram. There is this teacher here. These are the UPSC aspirants. Let's assume aspirants as you and me. We are asking the teacher, UPSC, sir, we are so happy. Finally we know क्या है Indian Constitution. This is what we know. Come on man, we know it. Let's begin the class, sir. Test me now. I know the Indian Constitution. The teacher smiles. Okay, wait. Sure, we'll start with the class. But before starting the class, since you people are so confident, you know the Indian Constitution well, there is a small question. Can you define any of these? Sir, we did not discuss this. We were discussing the structure of Indian Constitution. What is the masala of Indian Constitution which needs to be fitted in? What are the various aspects of Indian Constitutions? This is what we decided. This is what we are reading. This is what we did in our Constituent Assembly, damn it. Yeah, right. This is what we did. But you people started feeling confident, okay, hooray, let's go ahead with the Indian Constitution. And that's the reason I'm asking you what is the meaning of these concepts which are present here. And all of our head hangs in shame. I'm sorry, sir, we are not yet done with this. So then you're not fit to start the Indian Constitution. Do one thing. Go to the 11th standard NCERT. And first study the political theory. Because the framers of the Indian Constitution framed the Constitution. But you are not the framer of Indian Constitution. You are the student of Indian Constitution. And in order to unlock the mystery present in the framers of Indian Constitution, first understand the basic. What is equality? What is freedom? What is citizenship? What is privilege? What is discrimination? What is right to freedom? X, Y, what is ideology? Understand these theories first. Once you are done with this theory, which is class 11 political theory, once you are done with this political theory, then you are fit to understand Indian Constitution and work, which is the part 2 of 11th standard. Everybody with me till here. What unfolds in NCERT? This is the part which you need to study. Only when you are done with political theory. Because if you don't know the theory, you will not understand the importance of articles. You will not understand the importance of terms. If you don't understand the terms, you will not understand the Constitution. And if you don't understand the constitution, you would not be a right civil servant, because you would have to many times use the constitution. When you would have to take a call on letters, on the spirit of the law, not on the letters of the law. And when that spirit has to be understood, you would have to first understand the conceptual basis behind that spirit of our governance. Once you are done with Indian Constitution, the details of Constitution, federalism, parliament, fundamental rights, directive principles, fundamental duties, state legislature, union executive, union legislature, emergency, schedule 6, schedule 7, different schedules, all those things comes here. But for reaching here, you would have to go through a long process. Once you have done this, now the question which comes is, what you have done again? This is the diagram which happens. Understand society, understand the structure, understand the democracy, understand the aspects of democracy, understand the theories, understand the constitution. Once you are done with the constitution, you come back to me, the teacher says, and then I will ask you, I'll test your understanding. Have you seriously understood the constitution? So how you are going to test that? By taking the NCERT of 12th standard. So what are you going to test? I am going to ask you how this constitution has worked in India after 47 when it was framed. You can only understand the working of constitution. You can only understand how the constitution has worked after 47 when you understand the Indian constitution itself. That is, 11th standard is important in order to understand post-independence India. This part is the part mentioned in your GS paper 1, India after independence. Once you understand the Indian working, I will not stop the test. I will yet again test you how the world politics has worked and how your constitution can be compared to the world constitution, which is again the part of your paper 2, GS, comparison of Indian constitution with yet other countries. Have you gone through the syllabus? What comes in NCERT? Go back to the syllabus today and now look into the syllabus and look into the content of NCERT. The content would have a jigsaw fit. There is nothing beyond NCERT. Yeah, certain aspect of Indian constitution at work when we discuss. Some articles can be studied from Lakshmikant or maybe beyond that. But don't create a mirage in your mind that in order to study for prelims NCERT is sufficient, in order to study for mains NCERT are not sufficient. Then you, my dear, have not understood the syllabus well. Or if you have understood the syllabus well, you have not gone through the NCERT as well. It covers more of your mains, not just your prelims. This is the way you need to connect the dots. And once you connect the dot, I hope I have justified myself. NCERT में सब कुछ होता है cover, provided you understand the importance of NCERT. Because if you are just completing NCERT for the sake of completion, you are not in a position to understand the importance of NCERTs. So this was my obligation in order to make you understand that basics which you are going to cover in next 15 days is not just goddamn basics. It is the entire polity. And if you know this well, I promise you on one front, there's nothing in polity which would ever scare you. Those people who have their optional public administration, they have to mug up all the articles of constitution. in order to fetch more marks in public administration paper 2. But as far as the person who are not having such disciplines, there is a possibility that you don't have to mug up the articles. If you just understand the essence of constitutions with the right parts, you get equivalent, or in fact many times more than the person who is writing GS paper 2 with political science. I can prove that. So are we ready to largely unleash the power of NCERTs? And I hope I have proven Yuval Noah Harari right that people understand better in a story format. And more simple the story is, more better the content is. And more better the grasp of content is, more better the presentation of the content and structure of the content is. So the two thumb rules which I always follow in all my classes, whether it is optional or GS, I structure the content. And in the entire classes, wherever I put the structures, I will give you 30 seconds to take a snapshot of it. Once you are done with the snapshot, after the class, spend 30 minutes to write all the structures which I have drawn on board so that you can remember the content as it is by your structures, because they would serve like a synoptic notes. They would act like a keyword mechanisms in order to largely tackle the aspects. So this was my goal in today's class. If you have any doubts, we'll go ahead with the doubts, or else in the next class we'll start with the NCERT of 6th standard, and my goal is to complete that NCERT of 6th standard in such a manner that that class should be sufficient for you to understand every aspect of it. I don't teach by PPTs. I largely teach by board. Remind me whenever you want a screenshot, because in the flow of the lecture many times I miss and I may largely go to the next slide. I have made the slide today, but from next class onwards I'll make the slide live on board. I'll try to do that. Any doubt? Anybody? Please ask me right now. So please upload this by exporting it. I think I would have created a mess of it, but I'll still try to send it to the respective backend team so that you can get it. ठीक है Prem? I'll try my level best if I am able to do this here. Anything else? Any other doubt? If you have, please throw the doubt right now, or else I'll wind up the class today and we'll meet in the next class. No doubts at all? Sir, in my phone not allowed to take a screenshot. Yeah guys, but take a snap of it if it is possible. Should we read D.D. Basu for mains? Sandeep, as far as the depth of the content is concerned, Durgadas Basu is one of the best book I have ever read in my preparation span. But the question which comes right now is this. As I said in this class, one thing very clear. D.D. Basu is good. In fact, one of the best book, provided first you know the NCERTs. My serious request is, first the basic aspect, then go with D.D. Basu. One book which I always recommend to all the students of polity, maybe this may not help you in next 10-15 classes, but definitely when you get into the advanced level of your learning, there's one book by P.M. Bakshi. This was my staple content for my public administration when I used to largely give my attempts. It's a bare act. Always buy this book and keep it whenever a polity class is going on. In this book, article 1 से लेके last article तक article wise content is given. So it becomes a very good document for your reference source when you are going through your polity classes. So my take would be PM Bakshi, supplemented with any institution's notes of polity, rather than reading notes from D.D. Basu and then going for PM Bakshi, because that will create a very Herculean task to cover both of these. काफी detailed documents है दोनों. So my point is, no. Should we start NCERT of 11 or from 9? Suraj, in that context, I don't think I'll help you up. I'm in a position to help you. If you still want to start NCERT from 9th or 11th, I would recommend leave the NCERT. There's no point of studying NCERT. It's better you go with any other book which you are referring. Because ask yourself, guys, a person have proven thing to you that every part of NCERT is connected, but still somebody stands up in the crowd and asks me, should I start from 9th or 11th? In that context, leave NCERT. Leave it. Start from Lakshmikant. Because आपकी भूख थोड़ी ज़्यादा है, you are more hungry, you are in a position to run now. But that's okay, I understand the warmness in your blood. Because the age at which you people are, you will only learn by experience, because my experience will not teach you anything here. Because you will understand the importance of my experience when you come to the phase of 25 or 26 years, when you have constantly failed in your 3 attempts. Then you will realize that somebody was there 3 years down the line, said us the importance of certain sources, but we had our own egos in my mind, not in pocket, and as a result we could not get anything out of it. So if you want to start NCERT from middle of something, then it's better to skip NCERT. Why to do half-hearted work? Start from a book if it gives you a better confidence. This is what I believe. Suraj Yadav. Sir, StudyIQ book is good. I said you any organization's material, supplement it with PM Bakshi. You will have the best content of polity ever. It will not make much difference which organization's book you are following, because constitution is one such document where interpretations cannot be made by organizations. For example, Indian society part which I teach in the advanced batch, there cannot be one content of all the organizations. There is a lot of interpretations which are involved. There's no interpretations as far as this constitution is concerned. Supreme Court ki interpretation is the final interpretations. So, Bhumi, I would recommend if you feel StudyIQ ki book, if you have, that's a good to go start. But yes, please follow this. This is going to bring magic in your preparations. So, Tamil Nadu books are good. As I am reading Tamil Nadu, that's good. Any book if you want to read it, guys. Basic hona chahiye. Get the basic clear. If you can get it from Tamil Nadu, if you can get it from Karnataka State Board, or if you can get it from UP or NCERT, it's perfect, good to go. But one thing I'll make you understand today is, open any NCERT. See the first 2-3 pages where there is a textbook committees which are framed. Look into the authors. Who are the authors? You will find the most renowned authors of the country with respect to their discipline. It's geography or history or polity. They are the people who have headed these committees and made these content. So at least give importance to their specialization. Because NCERT is one such source, the possibility of biasness would not exist there. Yeah, there are certain aspects of which it can be biased, but not in the context of polity. So this is my opinion, Indrajit. If you want to follow Tamil Nadu, it's perfectly fine. There's not going to be much variations with respect to this. Anything else, guys, which I can help you with today? Are we clear on this front? Guys, take care then. I'll see you in the next class. I'll wind up the class right now, right here. And in the next class, we'll start with the NCERT of 6th standard so that our basic aspects of society gets clear. And we develop a better understanding and approach towards the power which operates in the Indian society. Thanks a lot. Take care. I hope this session helped you to get some clarity better on the front of polity. Thank you. Bye-bye.
StudyIQ IAS. अब तैयारी हुई अफोर्डेबल।